Oh, yes. D Friendly says, if I remember correctly, water heaters were one of your and Jamie's favorite things to blow up. What made them such an interesting vessel for explosion? So, a water heater is not technically an explosion. It is called a, wait, no, it is an explosion. It might be a conflagration because I think an explosion has to go past the speed of sound, and the water heater does not. The water heater is a particular kind of explosion called a BLEVE, boiling liquid expanding vapor explosion. Right, so the explosion is built right into the name. It is an explosion. BLEVE. I love that that has a name. What makes it so much my favorite explosion is that it sounds exactly what 8-year-old me thought an explosion should sound like. I'll explain. If you're in the military, you've heard explosions. If you're in special effects, you've heard explosions. But your average person, what in Australia would say, your average punter hasn't heard an explosion. And the thing that would surprise you the most is how short and sharp it is. And an explosion is, it is such a crack. It is not a boom. That's the most surprising thing about high-speed explosives like C4, etc. A water heater, a BLEVE, which is just basically you're heating a liquid until it expands, because everything expands when you heat, and it expands until the vessel it's in fails. And when that vessel fails, and in the case of a water heater, it's got a top, and the bottom is this concavity in order to handle the pressure. And when you get that concavity to fail, it fails catastrophically right around this weld. It turns inside out, and the force of that sends the water heater at least 750 feet into the air. Oh my God. But the best part about it is it releases this ever-loving foom that is what the Wile E. Coyote inside of all of our brains thought that explosions sound like. It turns out that we're wrong. Most explosions do not sound like that. But the water heater, it satisfies that that Warner Brothers cartoon sound, because you don't just hear it, you feel it, and it resonates through the ground, man. There's nothing better. Absolutely. What do you think? 2 more? Excellent. All right. Tyler Vigant, I'm sorry about the butchering of your name, asks, when you're talking to the camera, do you picture someone on the other side? In your mind, who are you talking to? This is a great question. You know, this is not necessarily my advice about public speaking. This is just how I do it. Years ago, I read, like a lot of people, I read Kurt Vonnegut obsessively in my early 20s. I went through his entire canon, and he's a really important writer in my head. There's a kindness in his writing that I find abides even today in my brain and in my heart. And Vonnegut says that he was told at some point that every writer writes for an audience. And Vonnegut said, I thought about that. And then I realized, right. Oh, I write for my sister. And he realized that he wrote for his sister, that she was the audience in his brain as he was writing. And he also wrote about how that perspective gave him one wonderful new insight into his writing. And I thought about it, and I realized, actually, the person that I'm talking to on the other side of this lens, it is you, because I feel a you coming through the questions and through the live questions during the chat. But it's also, frankly, my partner, my wife. Mrs. Don't Try This. As you could imagine, so we got married in 2004. We've been together now for almost 19 years. And 2004, right? So I'd already started doing MythBusters. So she married me, and then I go off and spend 13 years doing the craziest stuff, right? And I come home every day, and if you ask me what I did that day, the answer is always weird and phenomenal. But frankly, also in the pacing of a house, like, you don't need incredible stories about what I did today every single day. And so I say that by, saying, our partners see our lives in a way that nobody else really does. And they see us in a way that nobody else really does. And so what I understand, what I came to realize is, like, my partner isn't necessarily interested in just hearing the factual details of the day, no matter how amazing they are. What they're interested in hearing is the stuff that moved me. And that's what we're there for our partners, right? We want to hear their enthusiasms and their hopes and dreams. We want to listen to them spill out how the day really changed them and what might have happened. And so I always know that while, she may feel, neither this way or that way about the stunt driving I got to do that day. If I did something that was really powerful for me on a creative or emotional front, she really does want to hear that because she's my partner in the same way that I want to hear that from her. And so sometimes you hear me pausing to slow down, like I'm talking at a mile a minute. That's absolutely, like, I picture, she gets exhausted, my wife, sometimes by the pace at which I feel like telling a story. And I am a recovering mansplainer. And when you see me slow down, that is me picturing my wife being like, all right, sweetie, slow down just a little bit. There's a lot of information coming at me. Yeah, for real. So yeah, I picture my partner. All right, let's see here. Aaron, this is a fine one to end on. I'll tell you, sitting there signing autographs and talking to fans at Planet Comic-Con this weekend, so many people come up and tell you their favorite episode of all the episodes is the cement truck, the blowing up of the cement truck, the first one. And full marks. It is a spectacular episode, and it's sort of a mind-bending explosion. Parts of that cement truck, to just give you some context, we took a cement truck, we filled it with wet cement that hardened, and we were trying to, can you clear a cement truck by using a stick of dynamite? We found within reason that was actually not an unreasonable way to clear hardened cement that was caked on the sides of your cement truck. But we finished that episode, and the production company Beyond Productions came back to us, and they were like, we needed a really spectacular finish. So we've talked to Discovery, we got the money, we can blow up the whole cement truck. So then we went to find a location where you could do such a thing, and that was a rock quarry up in Angels Camp, California. And we ended up filming at that rock quarry a dozen times over the years that we made MythBusters. It was a stunning location. And we set it up. We set it up with 5,000 pounds of fertilizer, explosives, AMPHO. We retreated. We built bunkers for our cameras. Our high-speed camera was half a mile from the explosion, and it was bulletproof glass and a bulletproof ceiling. And still, parts of that truck flew a half mile past the high-speed camera position. I mean, it was never in danger. These are small parts, and we surrounded them with bulletproof glass for a reason. But so to describe the setup, the truck is on its location, which is a sort of promontory. The high-speed camera's on a hill a half mile away with some trees around it. So there's lots of protection and, like I said, bulletproof glass. And then Jamie and I and the camera crew were a mile and a half away across the water. There's a reservoir up there whose name escapes me. I apologize. And we were across the reservoir from the explosion, which meant that when the explosion happened, we saw a thing that went, and then like several seconds later, the pressure wave comes across the water. You could actually see it, and it hits us in the chest like a 2x4. I mean, it was astounding. And then the high-speed camera operator, we check in with everybody. Everyone's okay. We check in with each position, and we would rehearse this kind of thing before the production day. Check in with you. Everyone's good. We check in with high speed. High speed okay? Yes. Did you get the shot? No. The high-speed camera op didn't get the shot. It is the one episode in which the unbelievably spectacular explosion that is everybody's favorite there is no high-speed shot of that explosion. And I'll tell you, as a producer, I was like, we were all like, oh, crap. We did all that. We didn't get a high-speed shot. And then I thought, man, I have never had a day as bad as the day that guy is having right now. That sucks. That sucks. That has got to suck. Oh, man, that is a rough day. I feel real sympathy. Those were the things going through my mind. I will tell you one more funny story about that, which was when we didn't realize the length of delay there would be between the explosion and the shockwave. And so the cameraman, Paul Henry, didn't quite get the shot he wanted. So as soon as everyone was safe and we knew it was all good, he turned around to Jamie and I and said, could I get a reaction shot from you? It's just one piece I don't have that the editors are going to want. So if you guys could stand in the position you were standing when the explosion happened, and he would move in front of us and below us and give us a hand countdown, and then we would jump as if the thing happened. And so that famous shot of Jamie jumping at the blast wave is Jamie acting. And he's a damn good actor. Yeah. I thought that was really funny. We did a fair amount of that on the show. We cheated reaction shots if we didn't get them, or if we didn't get exactly the kind of reaction shot we wanted. For the most part, we, always attempted to have coverage on that. But these were early days where we were still sort of learning about how to burn this show and how to make it. Hour and 5 minutes. Amazing. Guys, this went like that. Thank you guys for so many amazing questions. I love talking about this stuff. And like I said at the beginning, I love the fact that over the years, the questions get deeper and more insightful about what it was like to make a show like this, and asking questions that I think are so interesting for new content makers about how to tell stories and about the ways in which you frame them. All of this is stuff we learned on the job. And one last thing I'll say is, I do like to say that working for Jamie was like getting my bachelor's degree in special effects. Working at ILM was like getting my master's degree. And I thought that I showed up on the set of MythBusters in 2003 with some real chops, because I had done so much time in the special effects trenches. And working on MythBusters over 13 years absolutely was like my PhD. It was like the dissertation that never ended, and it was a grind, and it was the best grind. I am so grateful for the time. I am so glad we're finished. I was in my 30s when we started. I'm in my middle 50s now. All of that progression, it holds such a fond, deep, lovely place in my head. I thank you guys for letting me walk down this memory lane. Amazing. All right, well, thank you, everybody, for your wonderful questions. Take good care of each other. Stay safe. Enjoy the warmer spring weather, and I will see you next time. Cheers. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to support us even further, you can by becoming a tested member. Details are, of course, below, but it includes all sorts of perks, and we're building them all the time. You get advanced word and behind-the-scenes photos of some of our projects. Questions, you get to ask direct questions during my live streams, and we have some members-only videos, including the Adam real-time series of unbroken, unedited shots of me working here in the shop. They are weirdly meditative. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you on the next one.